Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to episode 105 of the Below the Yellow Line podcast. I'm your host, Joe Laney Pavlon. Alongside with me tonight, without his camera, is Justin Hebert. Justin, I know he's experiencing some camera issues.
Yeah, but it looks like I'm in a I'm going in slow motion. Basically, it's freezing every second, but I'm not in slow motion. Oh, and I also shave, so maybe my camera doesn't want me to be shaved. Well, hopefully next week these camera issues don't happen again.
Boys and technology, something marvelous. Okay, let's move on to why we're here. It's motorsports. Hope everybody had a great Easter holiday, Passover. The holiday weekend, of course, resulted in a very short few of events that happened in motorsport. If you watch Super Formula Championship again over in Japan, the first race, Justin will have you cover that and later in the podcast. The return of a tradition in Mount Panorama, the 6 hours of Bathurst is back, and BMW goes undefeated since the 2016 revival of the race. And we see another piece of history being written in the book at Mount Panorama by Shane van Gisbergen. Moto GP had some interesting events in Qatar for the second week in a row. The Doha Grand Prix saw a rookie on pole and a return of a rider in championship form. We'll cover everything that's happening in NASCAR. They have a big stretch going, I believe 15 race weekends if you include the All-Star.
Yep. All the way until their next break is after New Hampshire.
That's a long stretch. NASCAR will hit reality for sure this time around.
Yeah.
So we'll break it down for you. But yeah, let's get started with the return of the Easter Classic, the 2021 Bathurst 6 hours, and it had some interesting moments. We saw a lot of safety car periods in the race. Interesting battles between class honors and fighting for the overall win. And, of course, history being made once again at Mount Panorama. How about Prestige Connex and Bruce Lynton BMW, the dealer team that provided the BMW M4, BMW M4 F82, 120 laps complete with Shane Smollen, Rubis, and, of course, Shane van Gisbergen. Need I say more about the Kiwi? This man in 2021, actually, and the outskirts of 2020, have won the Bathurst 1000. He's 5 for 5 in supercars this year, going for a second championship.
Yep.
All 5 races in 2 weekends.
Yep.
Shane van Gisbergen went over to New Zealand at home to win the New Zealand Grand Prix from the back in a car that he had to start from the pits after I guess his gauge went on fire or something weird and bizarre happened. Despite collarbone surgery and being, joining back and getting back in the race car very early, which wasn't 100% agreeable with his medics. Shane van Gisbergen sweeps all the races at Sandown for the super sprint.
Mm-hmm.
And during the off week, he goes out and wins the Bathurst 6 hour. And yeah, most people say, well, it's kind of a Bathurst 6 hours more like a production car gentleman driver event where you don't really see the performance, the professional level drivers in an event. But this is the kind of driver that wants to race. Am I correct here, Justin?
Yeah, he really wants to race, because he really, I could tell he really wants to get in a race car. Like supercars is not even this, he's waiting until supercars returns, but he wanted to do something else while waiting. Some race car drivers in an off week, they do other things, like go to other race events. And he's
not race at all.
Yeah, but he decided to go run the 6 hours of Bathurst and end up getting a win.
And it was a win on debut. And let's talk about the fact that Shane van Gisbergen is now just the second driver to accomplish the triple sweep at Bathurst. joining Paul Morris. Yes, Paul the Dude Morris, who won the Bathurst 1000 in 2014 in his final ever, or at the time, his final start, because he's still racing at the age of 53. Paul Morris ended up winning the Bathurst 12 hours in 2007. And 10 years later, he won the 6-hour race in 2017. So just think about how tough it is to even run around the mountain. I mean, that's a challenge. No matter what car you drive, it's not a track that people take lightly. How about the altitude levels? It gets you prepared for that big event in October in the Bathurst 1000.
Yeah.
And also talk about the co-drivers too. Got to give credit to Shane Smollen and Rob Rubis. These are too much drivers that are much older and less they're known, that they just race because they want to race.
Yeah.
But one thing I find very bizarre about this event, Justin, and I know that yes, we came into this race knowing that there was more than like 1 or 2 or even 3 classes that could have won this thing overall. The fact that 11 cars finished on the lead lap, 120 laps complete overall by 11 different cars.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
People are going to say about the safety cars situation.
Yeah, and also me and Joseph picked the wrong class. We picked the A1 class. They didn't do too well. The X class was kind of proven to be the better class somehow. Like Joseph's pick, how many laps did your pick last? 33 laps?
Yeah, 33 laps in lap in Europe.
He didn't even they had damage and qualified. They didn't even start the race.
Yeah. So the amount of safety cars, I'm just looking at timing 71 here. Let me see here. 11 safety car periods.
Oh my God.
In the race, in the 6-hour race. And yeah, you can say you shouldn't have high expectations for green flag racing when we're not talking about professional drivers here, of course. That's the case. By the way, 40 cars finished the event. And about let me see how many finished this race. 58 cars took the start, excluding the cars that didn't start. So that would have been 60 cars.
Yep.
And only 40 of them finished. So it's an endurance race, no matter how many hours it lasts. And let's take a look at the guys that fell short. How about second place in overall and in the X class? We'll go class by class because the top 3 podium were overall first through fourth from the X class. Number 1, Bruce Lynton BMW. Those guys, Barrick Lynton, who's part of the Bruce Lynton family that owns the team, and Tim Leahy drove an M3, unlike the sister car that won the race. That was, of course, an M4, but this was an M3, the BMW M3. Third place, BMW. They just were outstanding. Sharon Motorsport with Grant Sharon and David Russell. Nice to see David Russell back. I haven't heard that name in quite some time, other than the Bathurst 1000 last year and 3 years ago. So yeah, David Russell got to round out the podium. Car Motorsport. Now I thought Car Motorsport would have done better, whether or not this would have been a class win or an overall win with Bradley Carr and of course Tim Slade. Need I say more about Tim Slade? Number 8, finished 4th overall. And 5th place in the X class was the number 99 Bruce Lynton BMW M3 with the Ellerly family team that ran, that was led by Stephen Ellerly and Tristan and Dalton Ellerly, 17th overall. Let's move on to the class victors. So A2 was an interesting battle till the very end. We saw the lead swap quite some time between two Ford Mustang GTs, but in the end, experience took the prize. And I think that's why it's so important to have that experienced resume that drivers you select for a Bathurst race, no matter how long it is, no matter what level you're in, because you have Paul Morris and Brody Kostecki with, relative to the team, George Medecki, beating the Green Tech Gold Coast number 25, Lindsey Kearns and Colby Cohen. Experience won that battle.
Yeah.
And Paul Morris, at the age of 53, impressed me. Like, I mean, I know he's a great driver and all that, but Paul drove the wheels off that car towards the end when it counted. No matter how many safety cars were thrown in the way, he seemed to drove just like his counterpart in Chaz Mostert did in the 2014 Bathurst 1000 finish. Just all out. 2 places down in the class winning list. By the way, there were 8 classes that ran this event. Garth Walden Racing, number 45, that finished 7th overall, the A1 class winner. Ollie Shannon, Brett Hobson, Michael Sheargold. With the Mercedes-Benz A class, the A45 AMG finished over their A1 counterparts, number 6. Rod Salmon Racing. Yes, the owner-driver, Rod Salmon, with Yasser Shaheen and Neil Mustin. They too drove the same Mercedes, the Mercedes-Benz A45 AMG. It's actually a hatchback car. Very interesting to note. Yes, you're going to see a lot of cars that you see in your neighborhood driveway in this event, or even in the school carpool parking lot.
Oh.
So yeah, that was 7th overall. Garth Walden Racing taking the win in A1 class. Now, next on the class winning list was the D class winner, which these guys were in a boat of their own. They actually had a 1-lap gain over the competitors. It was the number 14 CHE Racing with Lachlan Mineth and Tom Sargent. They drove a Toyota 86 GTS, completing 117 laps. Second place was the Bargwanna Motorsport. Yes, that team driven by Ben and Jude Bargwanna with the Volkswagen Golf GTI is related to ex-supercar driver Jason Bargwanna, and I haven't heard that name in a long time. Go 1 spot down, 16th overall, number 73, winning the B2 class was the number 73 Race Academy International Holden Commodore SSV Craig Lowndes edition with Matthew Forbes Wilson, Michael Firms, and Ashley Sison. So congrats to them winning B2. The only other car that raced in the B2 class, there were only 2 cars that ran that category, was the number 40 Commodore Cardiff Holden Commodore SSV. So yeah, by the way, Craig Lowndes, if you're not familiar with one of the greatest Bathurst drivers of all time, does have a Holden Commodore held in his own signature edition, kind of like the old Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS Dale Earnhardt edition or Dale Earnhardt Jr. edition.
Oh,
it's been sold in America. All right, next up, the C class winner, finishing 22nd overall. By the way, this was a close battle, but it ended up being a 1-lap difference later in the race as laps wound down, or actually the hours wound down. It turned into a 1-lap difference. Number 31 Osborne Motorsport Renault Megane RS265 with drivers Josh Haynes and Kane Lyman taking the class win at 116 laps, ahead of the number 5 C3 BMW M3 with Doc Westwood and Colin Gillis. They completed 115 laps, 1 lap down. Finishing 26 overall was the B class winners in the Bathurst 6 hours. B1 class winners. Only 2 cars were in that category. It was the on-track motorsport BMW 335i, completing 114 laps with drivers Peter O'Donnell, Peter Johnson, and Gary Mennel. The only other car in class actually finished 2 laps behind, 29th overall, number 40. The Team Newcastle Holden Commodore VESSV completed 112 laps with James Harrington, Ryan Gilroy, and Drew Russell. And last but not least, the E class only had 4 competitors, and finishing 28th overall and winning the class was the number 35 Rickshaw Racing Road to Bathurst Mazda 3 SP25 with Brianna Wilson, Ryan Gilroy, and Phil Alexander. 28th overall. Second place in class actually was a few laps behind, 109 laps. Second place in the class was the Team Group Suzuki Racing Team, Suzuki Swift Sport RS 416, with Matthew Thewels, Daniel Natoli, and Ian Cowley. So, yeah, very competitive, Justin.
Yeah.
I think the star power that was put into the race really added the excitement of this event. The competitive nature really came down to who was driving these cars.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about Shane Van Gisbergen for a moment. We saw his countryman, Scott McLaughlin, run out of things to accomplish in supercars at such a young age, not even hitting 30. And Scott McLaughlin traveled to the States, and now he's competing for IndyCar honors. Shane Van Gisbergen is heading that route.
Yeah.
Ready or not, he might as well just become the next best Kiwi in motorsport. If you look at the amount of drivers from New Zealand that have been successful, how close Scott Dixon was from Formula One, becoming later on a 6-time IndyCar champion, an Indy 500 winner. You throw in Bruce McLaren, Denny Hulme, former Formula One champions. What about, of course, I mentioned Scott McLaughlin. I'll say his name thousands of times, so get used to it. Shane Van Gisbergen, he's out on that list.
Yeah.
But that tells me the direction of racing from New Zealand. And what about Nick Cassidy?
Yeah.
We might see Nick Cassidy in Formula One in a few years. He'll be the first New Zealand drivers who race in F1 since Brandon Hartley in 2018.
Yeah, but not just Nick Cassidy. There's other drivers from New Zealand that could be in F1, including Liam Lawson. He's currently running in F2, and he's really doing well. He could be in F1 in the future. There's many New Zealanders could grow in motorsports.
I'm going to change this into a different discussion. This just came to mind because I don't think we have this former open wheel racing series was kind of like an Olympics of single seater racing, and it stopped. I guess it went out of business. But remember the A1 Grand Prix that happened in the mid 2000s, in the late 2000s, 2005 to 2009. The A1 Grand Prix, literally the drivers would be just identified by their countries. And every country would have like a lineup of drivers and compete for honors. I think this warrants the return. Like, that's my case. Like, the A1 Grand Prix needs to come back in some shape or form. Just by how these drivers coming from different countries have shown so much success.
Yeah.
And just world-class driving. I'll give you a good example. Just take a look at the rosters. Just go on Wikipedia and see for yourself the drivers that raced in the A1 Grand Prix for each country, and you'll see why they were selected. I mean, we'll go back to 2008. Let me throw some names out there. For Portugal, Antonio Felix da Costa, Felipe Albuquerque. How about Switzerland, Neil Gianni, Loic Duval, Nicolas Prost, France. In fact, that's where a lot of people learned about Earl Bamber. How about Chris Van der Drift? We don't really talk about Chris Van der Drift too much, but he's very good driver. How about, I mean, that was just from the 2008-2009 season. But what about 2007, 2008? If the sanctioning bodies, the governing bodies, even like the FIA should really like get a grip on this idea. Like, I don't think anybody at the FIA is listening to us, but we're little insects to them. But bring back the A1 Grand Prix. I want to see like drivers from different countries competing for different honors. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's say Estonia comes into the picture. Who would you pick? Gary Vips.
Yeah.
What about Zimbabwe? Axel Jeffries, Porsche factory driver.
Yeah.
Successful.
Like there's some racing series that should return, but there's some racing series that shouldn't exist anymore. Like, example, like the JKA's show racing series that folded after 2012. They had some decent drivers, like Nabil Jeffrey, like some people like that. You go through, but then you see some drivers not good. Mahavir Raghunathan. Like, you just, like, there's some series that are good, or that, like there's some series that are, like, legit championships, but there's other series that are still around, but they aren't really legit. Like, example, the Bosch GP series is a championship basically of gentlemen drivers. It's people that have enough money to race those things.
They want to race because they want to race. They're not really racing to get to Formula One.
Yeah, but that's what Mahavir Raghunathan's only championship.
Leave it to Mahavir Raghunathan
To go into that series.
to make any series public. Just leave it to Mahavir Raghunathan.
But he won a title, but it's not like a legit championship.
No, he wasn't racing against Mick Schumacher or Callum Ilott or no.
No, he was racing against Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, but he never won against them. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Mick Schumacher was better in points. He was 20th in points with one single point in F2. Yeah.
Oh, Lord Mahavir. Okay, yeah. So that was just, we were talking about the A1 Grand Prix, and for some reason we let to Mahavir Raghunathan, and by the way, I don't think Team India would probably select him. They would probably go for Gerard Derivla and Narayan Karthikeyan.
Yeah, they are.
Manini.
Yeah.
I think Manini needs to come back to single-seater racing. I think he's going to DTM now.
Well, we know that they're not going to pick Alessio Deletto from Italy.
Alessio.
Yeah, the guy that runs the slowest laps.
What if Team USA had to make a selection for present day A1 Grand Prix? Who would be in it? It's a tough one.
I know.
I would say Logan Sargent.
Yeah, he would be in it definitely. I don't know. I know there's a lot of a decent amount.
Colton Herta would definitely be on that list.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move back into our covered topics. Let's move on to the Moto GP Doha Grand Prix, the second time they raced in Qatar for round 2 of the 2021 Moto GP World Championship. The Doha Grand Prix at Lusail International Circuit in Lusail, Qatar. Same circuit as round 1 from last week. And wow, what a shakeup. We're going to see another competitive World Championship. I'm just going to put my hands down on this because it's gotten so intense these last few years. Fabio Quartararo, the French rider for Yamaha, who started off last season and went on a tear until injuries plagued him from a championship, took just 2 races to get to victory. And Fabio, I think Fabio Quartararo really made a statement, no matter who he fought, even the rookie, Jorge Martin. We'll get into him in a minute here. Johann Zarco. So French riders. This is 2 wheels. Johann Zarco, Ducati rider, finished second. He started and finished second. In fact, Zarco now inherits the points lead. But let's talk about third place rider for a minute. Jorge Martin. The Spaniard, who is 23 years old, made his second start in MotoGP with Pramac Racing. Shocked everybody in qualifying with the pole position. And not only that, Justin, but he led for most of the race until the closing stages. and was passed with 5 to go by Quartararo, and then Zarco followed through. I guess the lack of experience was the one key piece missing, but expect to hear that name, Jorge Martin, for many races and maybe years to come. With rides like that. So yeah, Ducati second and third. How about Alex Rins in fourth for Suzuki, High Suzuki rider? Fifth place, Maverick Vinales, the first the winner from race 1. Sixth place, Francesco Bagnaia for Ducati, picked up the fastest lap. And unlike Formula 1, you don't get any points for the fastest lap. You just get a pat on the back.
What the?
Seventh place, Johann Mir, KTM's highest rider. KTM's been struggling in the constructor standings, and it shows. Brad Binder, the South African rider, finished 8th, with KTM being the one of only 2 KTM riders to score points. Jack Miller finished 9th, the Australian rider for Ducati. Ducati's had a brilliant performance, but it's going to be tough for them to get around and fight against Yamaha. I think Yamaha is a little bit better than they were last year. This year, maybe because of the stronger start. I think a stronger start to the season makes a big difference between whether or not you can be a factor in this championship, because you don't have to worry about climbing up. You get to see everybody else fight to get your spot in the races to come. Let's see, I mentioned Jack Miller. Aprilia. Let's give some credit to Aprilia. This constructor had absolutely an abysmal season last year. They are still trying to get their feet wet with the big boys in Moto GP. And a 10th place finish by Alex Espargaro. That is a brilliant run. In fact, Aprilia, they were the only constructor to have single-digit points last year. And yeah, Bastianini, 11th place. Franco Morbidelli, 12th. Paul Espargaro, 13th. Honda's just not having their year at all. I mean, I know it's 2 races, but their start has just been abysmal. The highest Honda's 13th and 14th. Stefan Bradl, 14th. That's a total of 5 points, leaving Qatar, the entire circuit, Qatar. And 15th, Miguel Oliveira for KTM. Valentino Rossi, who had a very bad qualifying run, the veteran, failed to miss out on points. Remember, the top 15 riders that finished the race get points. So the championship standings, after 2 races, they go into an off week. Johann Zarco takes the points lead. He finished second in both races at Qatar. 40 points for Zarco. Fabio Quartararo moves up to second, tied with Maverick Vinales. 36 points for both Yamaha riders. Fourth place, Francesco Bagnaia with 26 points. Fifth place, Alex Rins with 23 points. So Ducati, Yamaha, Suzuki in the top 5 in the Riders' Championship. Now let's move over to the Constructors' Championship. A 10-point lead for Yamaha's team, or Yamaha's manufacturer, over Ducati. First in both races. Ducati second in both races. Suzuki third in the constructor title fight with 26 points. And this is where it gets very interesting. Aprilia fourth with 15 points over, yes, KTM and Honda combined. They both tie with 11 points.
Wow.
And it's not gone their way at all. But give it credit to when credit's due to Aprilia.
Oh.
15 points after 2 races. That is brilliant numbers. All right, let's move on to the team standings. So the team standings. It's all Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP. They pulled away 72 championship points. They're 2 for 2 in the season. So well done for them. Pramac Racing, second place so far at 57 points. Third place, Team Suzuki X-Star, 45 points, 5 points behind them, and with 40 points is the Ducati Lenovo team with 40 points, and fifth place with 18 points is the Repsol Honda team. So, like I said, they spend the week off and come back next weekend to the Algarve International Circuit in Portimao.
Next weekend, it's on the 18th.
After.
Yeah,
I meant the weekend
18th.
after, yes, April 18th.
Well, there's only one motorcycle event this weekend. If people didn't know, there was one Monster Energy Supercross at Atlanta. Motor Speedway, of all places.
They have like 4 races there, is that it?
Yeah, their first race is Saturday, which is interesting. You usually only hear that if it's like Daytona, like that bike week, but at Atlanta,
it's part of Daytona Bike Week.
Yeah, but it's at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, they're hosting I think a triple header, quadruple header. We don't really cover 2 wheels that much until the races really happen. But yeah, April 18th, the Portuguese Grand Prix will be round 3 of what is currently a 19-race World Championship. But I want to ask you and the live chat here, because yes, Marc Marquez is still out.
Yep.
But it's more likely than ever he'll come back. And either way, it seems like he'll probably be out of this title hunt then. So with Marc Marquez out of the picture, what are the expectations for the championship contenders now? Who will be in this fight? We're looking at the point standings. I mentioned the top 5, but who's outside of the top 5? That's really raising my eyebrows here. I'm looking at Paul Espargaro, who's 10th. Just not having the start of the season he's hoping for. What about Miguel Oliveira? Barely squeaking in points, only 4 points total so far. Takaki Nakagami, just a bad trip to Qatar.
Well, John Mir is in 6th place right now. George Martin, Alexei Espargaro, Jack Miller,
Jack Miller and Brad Binder are 2 riders I think will impress a lot this year.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm just looking through. Stefan Bradl is actually the driver that is subbing for Marc Marquez. He is 13th in points. The last driver in the points is Alex Marquez with 2 retirements. Yeah, Alex Marquez has not had a good start to his season with 2 retirements in the first 2 rounds. He's the last driver in the standings.
Well, so then I guess that's it for our MotoGP discussion. Now let's I guess we'll move to NASCAR. I know this is a podcast you guys expect us to be on a little longer, but we don't really have too much to cover. But let's get back to the NASCAR discussion. We might extend this NASCAR Cup Series discussion, because this is where it gets very, very intense. NASCAR drivers have got to get their work cut out and just grit their teeth here, because this is the time when reality hits. They'll be racing nonstop till middle of July, including we're going to call the All-Star race here.
Yeah, their last race that they're not racing is New Hampshire. Then they got 2 weeks off for the Olympics. Then they race in August at Watkins Glen. So there's the gap. But yeah, they race till July 18th at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And we are April 5th today. That's a while from now. From July. That's in 3 months from now.
It's a long stretch.
Ooh.
I mean, hopefully the world will get better as those weeks go by and months go by, especially for some of the treks that we'll be approaching. We'll have to see.
Hopefully we have
one week at a time.
Hopefully we have good weather in some of them.
Mm-hmm. But at least for this upcoming weekend, there is an extra day in the weekend to solve that. Hopefully we don't be in that position.
Yeah, because you never know. Martinsville, we've had snow before, and March 2018. That snow, which nobody expected for snow to be in Martinsville, because that was quite strange.
Yep. So let's take a look at some of the very rich history of NASCAR's oldest track, Martinsville Speedway. So it's this 8th round of what is currently a 36-round championship. Last year, 2 races were held, won by Martin Truex Jr. and Chase, eventual champion. So yeah, eventual champion won this race. Well, we might see history repeat itself. We could see a streak come to an end, a streak that begins, of course, that being the streak of different winners. Started the season 7 different winners after 7 races. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's look at the history of this event. The first race was the very first season, a 15-car showcase, was won by Red Byron, the very first NASCAR Cup Series champion back in 1949. So let's take a look at the history of this race. Most wins all across. Richard Petty, 15 times he's gone to victory lane, more than any other driver. 4 wins less. 11 times Darrell Waltrip. Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson share 9 wins apiece at Martinsville Speedway. Rusty Wells won here 7 times. Dale Earnhardt, Trent Lorenzen, and Cale Yarborough shared 6 wins at this paperclip of a track. Denny Hamlin is the highest active driver to score wins at Martinsville Speedway with 5 wins, the hometown driver, that is. Jeffrey Bodine won this race 4 times. Harry Gant, Jim Pascal, Lee Petty, Ricky Rudd, and Tony Stewart are 3-time winners at Martinsville Speedway. And then for 2-time winners, this list is very large. Buck Baker, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Bobby Isaac, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Junior Johnson.
I was about to say
Jimmy won 9 times. I don't know what I'm saying.
Junior
Johnson.
I was about to say, is there a second Jimmy Johnson in that race?
No, there isn't. Brad Keselowski, Mark Martin, Herb Thomas, Martin Truex Jr., Curtis Turner, Bob Welborn, and Rex White are 2-time winners. Now let's look into the spring race at Martinsville and the history of that race for the in terms of the team wins and the manufacturer wins. For team wins, 12 times has Petty Enterprises gone to victory at the track, including their very last win before rebranding in 1999 with John Andretti, the late John Andretti. Hendrick Motorsports, 8 wins, 7 wins shared by Team Penske and Joe Gibbs Racing, 4 wins for Richard Childress Racing. In fact, their last one was 10 years ago with Kevin Harvick. Holman Moody, Dyegard Motorsports, Junior Johnson and Associates, and Stuart Haas Racing share 3 wins at this track. And with 2 wins is John Ains, Kirk Kiekhaefer, Wood Brothers Racing, Mach 1 Racing, and Roush Fenway Racing. Now let's look at the manufacturers. In terms of the 2 long-lasting manufacturers, Chevrolet and Ford, Chevy wins this bout by almost half. 26 wins for Chevy over Ford 14. Plymouth 7 wins. Dodge, Pontiac, Toyota 5 wins shared. Toyota, of course, the third of the active manufacturers. Oldsmobile 4 times they've won. Mercury twice. Hudson, Buick, and Chrysler 1 win. So yeah, you can tell how long this track has been around for, because this track is the only circuit in NASCAR's Cup Series to be a part of every single season since the beginning, the very beginning in 1949.
Mike. Hey, Joseph, you know we're talking about the weather?
Go ahead.
Thursday, we have perfect weather for Thursday for modifieds. Downpouring Friday and Saturday, and sunny on Sunday. Come on.
Of course. When it's supposed to affect you the most, it's when the rain happens. So if you're free and you're putting everything aside to watch a NASCAR Cup race, that's the worst possible weather you're gonna get. Now, if you're busy, you got school going on, and everything is happening. You're free the next day. The weather is perfect on the day you're busy. That's how it works.
But the thing is, if it's raining on Friday and Saturday and sunny Sunday, they could do 2 double headers on a Sunday. But it just depends if the rain impacts, because like for me, I'm at work Saturday night But then I got to wake up early Sunday morning for work because I work early in the morning. But we'll have to see because this weather is weird. The weather is so weird sometimes.
Hasn't NASCAR opened some doors to a way around that?
Yeah, but the Cup cars have tested 2 drivers, Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher.
Maybe there could be some wiggle room for possibly damp racing at Martinsville Speedway in the later future.
But what about they were not going to race in a downpour.
Of course not.
It's supposed to downpour all week.
You're going to get the thing flooded.
Yeah, it's literally downpouring until Sunday with sunny weather. It goes from cloudy to rain to sun. Oh, the weather is so weird sometimes. It's like the snow at Martinsville in 2018.
That was horrendous.
That was weird. Just seeing snow at Martinsville.
All right, so yeah, expect a long weekend for everybody.
Well, if it gets put to Sunday, it's not that bad. Then we could do the podcast on the actual Monday, not like last week where we.
That's true, and then that means we get to have a longer Sunday, and a longer Monday, and nothing in between.
But then after this race, like Martinsville, it's Richmond on a Sunday afternoon.
Danny's here. How's it going, Danny?
Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? What's going on, guys?
Talk about Martinsville predictions, but
Martinsville predictions.
Yes, so it's a long stretch here. So if you include the All-Star race, the Cup Series will not have a week off until mid-July.
Right.
Yep. So that's a while.
All right, let's look at the possibilities here. So either we go 8 for 8 with different winners in 2021, or we get our first 2-time winner of the season, and I think this could be very well the track that will finally see that streak come to an end. Or the streak could continue because with how successful some of these drivers are from the past at Martinsville Speedway, you can see they're also on the no-wins club in 2021.
Yeah. And one of them being Bubba Wallace, which is, I know is going to be a long shot, but he's had some experience winning at this track in the Truck Series, so that might help him.
Something about these new startup teams, Danny, that really irked me. I've noticed how Trackhouse has just been performing and outperforming everybody's expectations, including mine. That's Bristol on the dirt last race with Daniel Suarez. Honestly, Daniel Suarez could have very well won that race.
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace was in the top 10. Bubba Wallace had a shot to win the Daytona 500. He was very fast the entirety of the Daytona 500 month. So just by looking at that perspective, we could very well see someone that you may not have expected to win this race. But I think if there's any driver out there that could take the checkered flag with ease, it has to be Denny Hamlin.
Well,
winning in his hometown, eh? Not bad.
5 times.
Well, not so fast, Joseph. I'm going to tell you my pick. This driver, he's ran a total of 22 races at Martinsville. He has 2 wins, 11 top 5s, 16 top 10s, 19 top 20s, 891 laps led. He has 0 poles. His lowest finish is 38. He's never had a DNF here. He has 2 wins. Driver of the number 2, Brad Keselowski, is going to win a 3rd time at Martinsville.
Brad Keselowski. I thought you were about to say Mark Truex Jr.
No, Brad Keselowski.
Listen. The last time Keselowski won here was in 2019, right?
Yep.
Right. Of course. So I think he's also another favorite, but I'm not too sure, man. I'm still gonna lock in my pick with Bubba Wallace with the 23-11 racing.
That's gonna be interesting. Yeah. Bold. And I guess the answer to that is we will see the streak continue. Now, the streak of different winners continue. Now, what if a repeat winner wins? Now, let's put this in a different category. Who of the drivers that have already gone to victory lane in 2021 will have the best shot going into Martinsville Speedway on Saturday night?
A lot of people are saying I don't want to say a lot of people are saying this, but I got a gut feeling some people might be saying Logano might get a back-to-back win here.
Yeah.
Joey Logano is so strong. He's won at Martinsville Speedway before. He's never won it twice. He could have very well won this race more than the one time he did in 2018.
Right.
But Martin Truex Jr., or I've called him Martinsville Truex Jr. because of his back-to-back victories at Martinsville Speedway in 2019 and 2020. I don't know. There's something about Martin Truex Jr. that is so steady at these short tracks. And if you think about it, Truex could have won this race 4 times. He almost won the 2017 and 2018 races in the fall.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like he's done good at the short tracks. The only short track that he still hasn't done the best at, the only short track he wants to, other than this track, is the Bristol, the normal Bristol layout. Because that's the track that he's not won at. Like, he's doing good on short tracks, but he's still waiting to get, Truex wants to get momentum rolling.
That's what he's looking for.
I think Martin Truex Jr. fans and Joey Logano fans should be excited for the next few races. Next 2 races if you're an MCJ fan, and especially the next 3 races if you're a Joey Logano fan.
Oh.
But yeah, I know that we got the next stretch of races coming along. I'm not going to say too much about the next 2 races, Richmond and Talladega, but this is the first short track race of the season. We've already had our first Super Speedway restricted play race of the season, Daytona 500. We had our first road course race of the season, Daytona Road Courses. We had our first 2 400-mile intermediate races of the season at Homestead and Las Vegas. We had our first mile length relation long track of Phoenix. And then our first 500-mile race in the intermediate, Atlanta. Bristol, our first dirt race, only dirt race. And now we get our first short track race.
I was about to call Phoenix. I almost said
Phoenix is not a short track.
No.
They can call it. It looks like a short.
In my head, my brain called the Phoenix Riverside. I don't know why.
It's not the road course. It doesn't exist anymore.
I don't know why I was thinking Riverside. I'm like,
is there Riverside in Canada? That's a short track.
Yeah. But I was thinking about Phoenix wasn't named Phoenix. I was thinking of Riverside was the name instead of Phoenix. I don't know why I got Riverside in my head instead of Phoenix. I don't know. I can't explain that.
Yeah.
I still think it's a shame that Riverside, doesn't exist anymore as a track.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was a good road course. I've watched past races there.
NASCAR had a 500-mile road course race.
Yeah.
At Riverside in January every year before the Daytona 500 mile.
Yeah.
500 miles. And by the way, these drivers didn't have co-drivers. They ran the 500 miles in one sitting. That's just incredible. Or should we call those the Dan Gurney 500?
No.
Just about how amazingly dominant he was at those tracks. Okay, let's move on to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. We talked about the Cup guys. The NASCAR Xfinity Series only have 2 races in April. Martinsville, and then a few weeks later, Talladega Super Speedway. Yep. So, round 7 of the 33-race tour, Martinsville Speedway. And unlike last year, now we finally know what it's like to see the current Xfinity guys race at Martinsville with the new cars and all that. So 250 miles. Last year, Harrison Burton took the win. Yep. First race was held in the very first established season of number 2 series racing in 1982, the Budweiser Late Model Sportsman Series, later then called the Busch Series. Anheuser-Busch sponsored that until 2007. Now we're the Xfinity Series since 2015. Sam Maher took the win. Sam Maher, one of the greatest drivers of all time in the second-tier series, picked up 5 wins. He has the most wins of all drivers at Martinsville. Then, with 3 wins, you have Harry Gant, Jimmy Hensley, and Tommy Houston. With 2 wins, Brett Bodine, Tommy Ellis, Morgan Shepherd, and Kenny Wallace. Now, as for team wins, because the spring race at Martinsville last happened in 1994, only Thomas Brothers Racing took multiple wins by a team in the spring race of Martinsville. And because the last race of Martinsville was held in 1994, Pontiac and Buick, two GM brands that are no longer in NASCAR, one of them doesn't even exist anymore, own the title for most wins by manufacturer at the spring race at Martinsville. Oldsmobile would have 3, and Chevrolet, the only current one on that list, has 2 wins. So yeah, it shows you how much things have changed since then. But let's go back to the point standings real quick. Austin Cindric, the defending champion, has a pretty big points lead over Daniel Hemrick. Daniel Hemrick does have a lot on his plate going into Martinsville Speedway, especially after the altercation with Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson here in Martinsville last year is trailing big time. He's 14th in the points. His best finish was 4th at Atlanta.
Yeah.
Right. But what about the Virginia boy, Harrison Burton?
Virginia boy, he's not from Virginia. I know.
I know he's from North Carolina because he was born in the midst of his father's NASCAR career, but he does live in Virginia.
Yeah, well, you don't have just Harrison. You have his cousin Jeb. He's good on these short tracks also.
He got so many races without winning Xfinity, and he's 6 in points.
Which Jeb is doing solid.
Yeah.
His first season with Colleague Racing, he's really doing solid.
I have a feeling that we'll see both Daniel Hemrick and Jeb Burton finally break through and get their first career wins.
Oh, you have other drivers that are good at short tracks.
Yeah, that's why it's going to be tough to stop a driver like Harrison Burton. How about AJ Allmendinger? He was very good in the Cup Series despite being in some underrated equipment. He used his road course talents at Martinsville Speedway to his advantage to nearly get his first win on an oval.
Well, I actually have my pick.
Sir,
this driver has never ran an Xfinity car at this track, but he did win a late model event back in 2019. Driver of the number 8, Josh Berry, is going to get career win number 1 at Martinsville.
Ooh, Josh Berry.
Stevie nodding my head here. I absolutely agree with Justin. Josh Berry has probably has the most laps over everybody else, excluding a few other drivers, in terms of the current Xfinity grid at Martinsville Speedway. Because he's just so stellar in the late models and in sim racing. I mean, I remember that NASCAR that won sim racing for all the lower series guys.
Oh, yeah, the Friday night.
It was the Josh Berry 300. No one else could stop him.
Right. Yeah, and remember, when he won that Valley Star Credit 300 in 2019?
Every lap.
Yeah, and we had that, and people forget. People actually forgot about Josh Berry winning because of Taylor Graves' flip on the back straightaway.
Never seen a car flip over in their life.
Come on. But it's like, why were they all interested in that? But they forgot that Josh Berry led every lap in that race.
I don't know, and that's why I think we need to send a few fans to their local venues to go watch their local demolition derbies. But yeah, let's not forget how very talented Josh Berry is. And if he is in that 8 car, then
he is
a factor.
Yeah, I actually checked the entry. He is in. His next start that he's not in is Coda, when Miguel Paludo's in that car at Coda.
Right.
It's going to be like Josh Berry. I feel like he's going to bring his experience at Martinsville with him, and he'll do really well. He's going to be tough to beat on Friday night.
I'm gonna have to make this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make the same pick as Justin here. Josh Berry is really good at short track, and especially Martinsville. He's gonna be up front. I guarantee you, he's gonna be up front most during the stages, somewhere in the top 10.
Yeah. My prediction: I think this driver, I've seen him race very well, and I firmly believe AJ Allmendinger will take the win.
Okay.
Colleague Racing will get a second win of the season. Southern win, this Las Vegas 300 almost a month ago. AJ will keep that top 5 streak alive at Martinsville Speedway. But let's look a little more on the championship schedule, because we'll have Formula E to talk about in a minute. But there is 33 races in this championship, and I know the Xfinity Series finally has, their schedule a lot more scattered out. That's what we're going to see for the near future. But only 2 races this month. The other race is May 24th at Talladega Superspeedway for 300 miles. And that's it. After that, May 8th, Darlington. Then Circuit of the Americas' first ever running of the Pit Boss 250 on May 22nd. The Charlie 300, May 29th. Mid-Ohio, first race since 2019. It's going to get difficult for these Xfinity guys. And I think that if you're Austin Cindric or an Austin Cindric fans, this might be some trying times for him. It won't be as easy as it was in 2020, especially with some of these different tracks coming up and the way that the schedule is laid out this time around. There's another few events that really make me anticipate some parity in the Xfinity season, and that includes Texas Motor Speedway. Having the race be a 250-mile event in early summer. We've never seen these Xfinity cars race at that track during that time of the year. Nashville Superspeedway, a 10-year hiatus comes to an end on June 19th. Pocono will have 1 race, unlike 2 races, by the way, that we can help Austin Cindric in the points.
Well, Cup Series will have 2 Pocono races.
Right.
It's going to be a double header.
Yeah,
I'm talking Xfinity here.
After that race is Road America, July 3rd. July 10th is Atlanta. And then the Lake Regents 200 at New Hampshire, July 17th. Then they have their break until August 7th at Watkins Glen. So, yeah, they have their 2-week break also.
I feel like we might see a change in the championship lead. Now, Austin Cindric, don't get me wrong, he's a very good driver, but we might see somebody else take charge of the series with the layout of the calendar and the return of some tracks, some of the very new tracks that we've never seen before.
Right.
Well, he still has a comfortable points lead. He's at 46 points over Hemrick heading into Martinsville. Harrison Burns third with 65 back, and then you got the 3 call-it cars of Allmendinger, Haley, Byrne. Then Myatt Snyder is 98 out of the title, while Jeremy Allgaier is minus 106 points. He's 8th in points. He's minus 106. Then you got Clements and Brandon Jones, the top 10. But there's some drivers that I'm kind of concerned about. Like Riley Herbst is 12th. Annette's 13th. Noah Gragson's 14th in points.
I think the junior motorsports drivers are going to be a big time under pressure. Much more. They're going to be working, I think, a little bit more harder than Austin Cindric and the guys in front in the point standings, because they have a lot working against them with so many unknowns. And you know what? I'll even throw Daniel Hemrick as one of those drivers who will be working twice as hard.
Ooh.
Because Hemrick, even though he's going to be a factor in the championship, whether he wins or not, he still has something else to fight against, and that is this for I don't know how many races, but since the day he stepped foot in the Xfinity Series, he was expected to win, and for some reason he has a big 0 on that wins column, no matter how impressive he's been.
Yeah, man. It's honestly, it's heartbreaking to be the bridesmaid if you're Daniel Hemrick. Oh man, gosh, let me get on my thoughts. It's kind of hard being Daniel Hemrick right now because you are the bridesmaids when doing that finish at Las Vegas, then Phoenix, and then it just, you really need to step it up. If you're Daniel Hemrick, you really need to step it up and
maybe he should just focus on the championship rather than the fact that he's winning. But I know, going into Martinsville and some of these other tracks, Talladega, big time. Talladega is one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
This could be the point where we might see the Joe Gibbs drivers, not just Hemrick, but how about Harrison Burton, 3rd place. That we might see Harrison Burton come to life.
Like,
I don't think we're going to see a one-man show in the championship battle here.
Well, after like the Gibbs guys, then you got 4 through 6, the 3 Colleague cars. Colleague Racing, you got Allmendinger 4th, Haley 5th, Jeb Byrne in 6th. Justin Haley is 1 point behind Allmendinger. Jeb Burns 7 points behind Allmendinger. The 3 Colleague cars, they're doing really good, 4th through 6th, which is really impressive that 3 of their cars are in the top. 2 of them in the top 5. And
I know what race they're looking forward to.
Talladega.
Absolutely. Swept by Justin Haley.
Yeah, and he has his teammates that could help him with AJ and Jeb.
Yeah, AJ Allmendinger nearly won the Daytona 250 race, a race that was won by Justin Haley. And Ross Chastain, even though he's not going to be racing with him, I don't think.
But Jeb's in the car.
Jeb Byrne, who is a solid driver.
Oh, he is.
Track.
Yep.
So there's a lot to look forward to if you're a fan for Colleague Racing.
But then you got an RCR car behind them. 7th place Myatt Snyder. He has a win, but he's been doing decent.
Yeah, he has been doing decent.
For his second season, he ran full-time for RCR and RSS in the second RSS car. But this year, he's done decent in his number 2 car. I've seen him run good. Like, he's good at Martinsville. I've seen him perform at Martinsville in the trucks, and he even did good in Xfinity when he drove the 21 last year. And he might be up front there. Then you got Justin Allgaier. He won, but he's 106 back.
Yeah, Justin Allgaier's first top 5 was that win in Atlanta last time the Xfinity guys raced.
That was his second top 10 of the season.
That's unbelievable.
Then you got Jeremy Clemens, the underdog, in P9. He has 3 top 10s and 6 starts. That's impressive for Jeremy Clemens.
Yeah, it is very impressive, isn't it?
And then you got Brandon Jones, 3 top 5s and 3 top 10s and 10s and 6 starts. Which Brandon Jones in some races, his 3 top 10s are good, but it's the other 3 races that's where his bad luck is. He had his DNFs, which is kind of a problem for Brandon Jones. Remember the first race of the season when he crashed at the end of a stage? He got bumped out of the way and got spun and got pile driven. Like, just stuff like that. That's like some races Brandon Jones just has no luck. Like some races he just is solid, but most of the races his DNFs are mainly because of mechanical failures or getting into someone else's accident, which really sucks for him. But I feel like he's done decent at Martinsville.
Yes, he sure has. I would definitely look out for that. Let me go around. Okay, so I think we got NASCAR covered. Let's move on to Formula E. The ABB FIA Formula E World Championship is back for what is still a very uncertain season, but they're back in what is rounds 3 and 4 of a currently a 10-round championship. We go to the Rome E Prix at the Circuito Cittadino in the streets of the EUR neighborhood of Rome, Italy. A beautiful sight, and it's nice to see the street circuit back, especially any street circuit during these times. Almost like watching all the fans packed in a full capacity stadium during the Texas Rangers home opener this afternoon.
Man, that was a beautiful sight to see, man.
And if you're excited for going to a race at Circuit of the Americas or Texas Motor Speedway,
you're in for a treat.
Absolutely. That's a great measuring test right there. But yeah, nice to see a street circuit back. Rome E Prix in Italy. We have 2 races. It was going to be 1 race, but then of course they made a 2-race championship just to get as many races in as possible. It has, I believe, 8. Must be, I don't know how many races the FIA needs to have done for a world championship.
I think it's 8. I know
Or
an
Formula
F1 is A.
Yeah, F1 is A.
I don't know. Like Formula E, you can, I don't think.
WEC is only 6 races, so.
Hey, Formula E, can you come confirm this? I know they're not gonna watch this podcast. I don't think. No, I don't. I don't think the FIA is gonna find our podcast somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's currently a 10 race championship unless nothing changes. The other rounds, of course, as of at the time of this podcast, rounds 5 and 6 are supposed to be held at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia for the Valencia E-Prix in Spain. Now, that's a closed circuit, so that gives me hope on a race happening there. Also, on the month of the Monaco Grand Prix, which the track looks like, just by what I've seen on the internet, that it looks like it has the Grand Prix stuff already out there.
Yeah.
May 8th, the Monaco E-Prix at Circuit in Monaco. I don't understand why Formula E can't run the full circuit. I mean, it's already small enough, but
well, I guess they don't want to run the same circuit as the F1 cars.
But then again, Formula E cars are meant to be different. Marrakesh E-Prix at Morocco.
I was about to say Monaco.
See, my eyes are. See, there's a difference between reading and seeing something. I definitely saw Morocco. I didn't read it, but yeah, the Marrakesh E-Prix in Morocco is on 22nd of May. I don't know if that's going to happen yet.
Well,
but it's there. And the Santiago E-Prix in Chile, which was actually relocated or removed last year due to civil unrest in 2020, before the pandemic ruined everything.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now.
That was actually supposed to be the start of the season on January 16th and 17th, but instead was moved to June 5th and 6th.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's not intent.
Oh, yeah, I just remembered from that. I just remembered about... Well, you said when you've read Morocco... Well, it's not. At least you didn't say when. It's like that one time when you, instead of saying Sebastian Vettel, you almost said Sebastian Alonso, because you said you wanted to read Fernando Alonso won the 2010 Bahrain Grand Prix. You almost said Sebastian Alonso.
Just so you remember everything. So there's still races, still rounds that are not confirmed in the 10 race tour so far, but are still optimistic to happen. I'll start with the Berlin E-Prix at the Tempelhof Airport Street Circuit. I think that race will get a date because that was the track that helped revive the entire rest of the Formula E Championship last year. It was held all in that one circuit in 2020, but they don't have a date yet. London E-Prix at XL London in the UK. That's going to be a tall order. I don't know if they'll get it going. I really think that was one of the more exciting events in the mid-2010s. But if they get it back, then yeah. If not, then just accept it. I mean, it sucks. The Sanya E-Prix at China and Hasing Bay Circuit is still on the table. I don't know. They haven't said a word about it, but I think most of us are still waiting for the cancellation announcement. It's very unfortunate that the Sanya E-Prix will have to go like that, but how about the Seoul E-Prix and Seoul Street Circuit, South Korea? That race, they were supposed to have it a few times, and I don't know. Like it's on the table. But it's still waiting for circuit homologation by the FIA. Now let's talk about the Americas. We have, just like F1, we've not seen Formula E make the leap across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas in these pandemic times. But the Mexico City E-Prix held at a closed circuit in Aerodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, home of the Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah.
That tells me that some hope. If they're racing on a closed circuit, that would help the likeliness of that race happening. But on the other hand, you have the New York City E-Prix, which I think is a very nice, just by the aesthetics of the New York E-Prix. In fact, that used to close the season before 2020.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn Street Circuit race is still on the table. There's only one Formula E event that is off the table, and it very much pains me to say this, but the Paris E-Prix, held in beautiful Paris, France, gone from the calendar, and that has been confirmed by the FIA. There will not be a Paris E-Prix in 2021. So of the E-Prix that we've mentioned that are not there yet, from Berlin, London, Sanya, Seoul, Mexico City, and New York City, which ones will be on the calendar, Justin?
It's kind of, I don't know, like,
all these are tough bets. I think
You
if
said
anything,
New York City wasn't going to be on there?
New York City is not canceled, but it doesn't have a date.
Ooh, I will be actually elated to go to the New York City E3 again, because I've been there before.
I'm sure the experience was awesome. My friends went to the Miami E-Prix in 2015. They never had it again at the streets of Miami Beach, and I wanted to go so badly. It just, for some reason, I must have had a hockey game or something that weekend, but I didn't get to go. And of course, the Formula E Championship took it off in 2016, so I never got to go. But I hope New York City comes back. But Berlin, I feel like we're going to see a doubleheader of Berlin again, because they were able to close the entire last half of the season in 2020 there at the airport circuit.
yeah.
A designated venue just to finish the FE Championship. Now let's move on to the Drivers' Championship, with Nick DeVries in the points, 7 points over Sam Bird, going into the Rome Prix. Who will take the checkered flags this weekend? There's 2 races. I already have my predictions. I think that Nick DeVries will sweep the weekend at Rome. I'm just going to put it out like that. Antonio Felix da Costa will climb up into the points, but I don't think he'll be in a position to win. And I believe Justin's mic is muted, so that's great.
No.
But if, let's say, Nick DeVries doesn't take the win, who would be out there to compete? And that would be Lucas Degrassi.
Lucas Degrassi's want to always be in the title picture, or always want to be up front, should I say?
Exactly. The fact that he is a former champion does say a lot about his Formula E career.
Hey, Joseph, I got my picks.
Go ahead.
My pick for race 1, this driver, he drives for DS Chichita, driver of the number 13, the reigning champ. Antonio Felix Acosta is going to win race 1. Race 2 is going to be Stoffel Van Dorn in his Mercedes.
Stoffel Van Dorn.
Ooh. Stoffel Van Dorn. The question that I have in mind is he a favorite to win the championship this year?
He could very well be a favorite to win the championship. I mean, just by putting out how well he did the last few races of last year.
Yeah.
The only thing Stoffel needs is points. He's just got to be in the points position. Yeah, I know 2 races are just, you can't really tell who's going to be in the championship from 2 races, but that doesn't change the fact that you have only 4 points. You're last of the drivers that have points, and you're 15th in the championship standings, which also makes me go to the next point. Only 15 drivers have scored points. That's a lot, of course, but we're still talking about Formula E here. I haven't really talked too much about Alex Lynn, about Max Günther. How about Mitch Evans? Mitch Evans won the Rome Prix in 2019. 2018 was Sam Bird. Sam Bird second in points. So we're going to get a lot of exciting racing this upcoming weekend at Rome. All right, so I think this is a good stopping point for the podcast. I know a lot of people are going to be tuning in to the college basketball NCAA championship game that starts at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So, yeah, what do you guys have?
Also want to say, for people that like local short track racing, the modified tour starts on Thursday from Martinsville with 40 entries for the modifieds. If people have Track Pass, tune on there, or MRN Radio will have the radio broadcast for that race.
All right, so, who do you guys have for the college basketball final tonight? Baylor or Gonzaga? How about?
I'm gonna go, dude. I think Gonzaga is pretty much the all-time favorite. I think they're gonna get their season under. What?
I want Gonzaga to win. I'm sorry, Baylor.
Yeah. Same here, man.
I got Baylor.
Ooh.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good match for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So I know this has been a short podcast. We'll be back next weekend to talk all the action from the short track at Martinsville Speedway.
Hopefully the weather's better than what it's predicting with rain on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
And it says rain Friday, Saturday, and then sunny on Sunday. This weather's
honestly with a chance of meatballs.
Truth be told, yeah. Honestly, thought you should have been run that race on Sunday, but it's whatever, you know.
We'll see what happens if the weather
there. We can't do it on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, we got Sunday. Like, if there's rain Saturday and Friday, we got Sunday. Okay, now the Winnipeg Jets are leading 3-1 against the Senators.
All right.
Okay.
Senators are sucking.
Too bad that's not happening for the tournament.
Okay. I think
it is what it is. I just can't wait to see these divisions go. But at the same time, at least both my teams haven't lost to the Maple Leafs in quite some time.
Right.
Well, next year it could happen, Joseph.
Yeah, that's the sad part. But in the end, it's gonna be fun. All right. Well, I know this isn't World Hockey Media, but I guess it's time that since we run out of motorsports, it's a good point for the podcast. For my partners, Daniel Ford and Justin Hebert, I am Joe Lanny Pavlon signing off. We'll be back for episode 106 next week. Take care.